Welcome to our latest Insight series, and it is our final story in the EML Mitolo case study, and we finally have Mitolo, their story. So today that we have Michael Brewer and Rod Farrell, who you'd have seen from Prudence Rehab, talking about this case study. So welcome both. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you.
Could you tell us a little bit about Mitolo and what you do, please?
Yep, so I'm the Group Health and Safety Manager for Mitolo Farms. Our core business is obviously potatoes and onions, and we're spread over a couple of states. So we've got production facilities in South Australia and New South Wales, as well as farms throughout the Riverland, the Mallee, and over in New South Wales, just outside of the town of Hillston as well. So a lot of the work we do is very manually intensive, particularly in the packing sheds, out at the farms with our farm hands, machinery operators, things like that. So musculoskeletal injuries were the main injury type that we suffered throughout the business, and we really needed to get on top of that. So we did try a number of different wearables prior to the pilot. They didn't quite suit the needs or hit the target. So we teamed up with EML, went through the process. They engaged with Rod, and I think it was through Rod's engagement and Prudence, as well as the module team, that created this pilot as being such a success, as well as the hard work that our teams did on site as well. To see such a significant reduction in musculoskeletal injuries within the space of 2 weeks was massive. We saw like a 60% reduction as soon as we turned that haptics on, which was massive. And we had 0 injuries throughout the entire pilot process, which is virtually unheard of at Mitolo. So that was just a fantastic result, and obviously pushed us towards looking to expand and roll out further and go with the full implementation.
Yeah, I mean, the stats are fantastic, and we'll kind of speak a bit more about that later. But so you say you were looking at other technologies. So what problems were these MSD injuries causing for you as a business? Why was it so important to get on top of them?
Yeah, well, it was costing the business significantly in just injury claims costs. I think over the last 12 months, as a result of the wearables, I think we've made a $1.5 million saving in that space,
Wow.
which is massive. So that gives us some extra funds to direct towards other key areas that we want to address and improve the safety as well. So the reduction in that space is massive. And then, of course, you've obviously got the wellbeing of the employees. They're a lot happier to work. There's a lot better morale. We did have a few stumbling blocks initially, which is what we discovered when we first tried the wearables. Given the demographic that we generally work with, there was a lot of skepticism around what these were. Are they tracking us? What are they tracking? So the key to the engagement and the rollout and the success of the pilot basically came back to Prudence and their team when they came over. They went through everything. The implementation plan of the pilot was fantastic. Everything was explained to everybody, and so there was no illusions that we weren't secretly tracking people or things like that. We were actually focused on reducing the injury rate and looking after our employees.
It's just such a great story, and why we're so excited about it, Michael. So when TJ, who I believe was your CRM at EML at the time, when he asked you to do this pilot, having done a couple before, what did you think initially?
Jumped at it. We knew that the way EML was going about it was obviously far better than we could do it ourselves. Teaming up and having that proper project process for implementation, getting the key groups together, the key stakeholders, and just having that proper implementation plan, I think was key to how we succeeded as well. We're trying to do it ourselves. We just didn't have the resources. I've got a very, very small team, and trying to roll that out ourselves is near on impossible.
Yeah. And, were there any kind of challenges that you mentioned earlier about kind of almost paranoia, isn't it, and skepticism around using the technology? Were there any, alongside that, or were there any other challenges that you were thinking were going to come your way during this pilot?
Not really. I was quite excited about where the wearables were going. There was obviously a few challenges and concerns from people just around the wearing of the device and, would it be uncomfortable and those sorts of questions, which is understandable. I mean, it's something that you're not used to having on your body while you're doing manual labour. But given the size of the devices and the location of them on the body, it becomes second nature. People hardly notice it afterwards. I mean, we even had people go home with them on because they forgot to take them off. So it just becomes that second nature. And I think when we go through to the new expansion, I think we will have similar troubles again. But I think that's only because we're expanding out to so many more people now, and it's going to be a compulsory part of their daily wear. So I think they'll get used to it very quickly. And the benefits that they'll experience themselves will be astronomical anyway. And we've seen that with a number of people. So looking forward to it. It should be exciting.
Great. And so obviously we've got our kind of end users, but you mentioned your stakeholders within the business and you having quite a small team. So who else were the stakeholders that you had to involve to get this project going?
Yeah, so the IT team was obviously key. We needed to get that technology across the sheds, AVR, just to make sure that we had enough bandwidth and internet coverage to make the system work. And then on top of that, obviously, we had the operations team, engaging with them to make sure that we had the right people. We engaged with our safety improvement team as well, which is a committee made up of the workforce members. And then obviously my safety advisor that I've got on site as well, heavily involved. So the executive team were obviously very keen as well, so we kept them involved throughout the whole process, giving regular updates. And our board was also very excited to hear the results as well as we progressed through the pilot. So there was regular reports up to the board during each month.
Yeah, great. And so obviously we've heard about the users and their original resistance. So take us through a little bit more, Michael, Rod, both, of how you overcame that user resistance, because obviously we got to there was resistance and then there was like they were going home in them. How did you kind of overcome those barriers?
So really it was just part of education to the team down there, from across all levels of the business, and taking the time to get them to understand and even show them some of the back end data that we could collect and what it would look like on our dashboards and those sorts of pieces, so that they could be really well informed in what they were coming on to try and test out with us. I think that was probably the major turnaround, and really then just being able to answer those questions up front, and some of them were, what do we do with them when we've got to go to the toilet or whatever it might, those sorts of questions. And if that's fair, right? You don't want to be tracked when you go into the loo. So if people don't know or have worries about that, or just really that full education piece right through from how to put it on to when you go home with it in the afternoon, or hopefully don't go home with it.
Yeah, I know when I've kind of been involved prior to Safety Tech Accelerator with trials, they don't charge them, they leave them here, because obviously we've kind of missed their real buying. Did you have any of that? Any of the lost or can't wear it today? It's kind of behaviours, or did you, because of that upfront education, did they all just buy in and get on with it?
There was always a couple that may forget to put it on in the morning, and that's fair. We didn't lose any. They all tended to come back, which was great. The team leaders were also great in making sure, in their morning walkarounds or whatever it might be, noticing if some of the people on the program weren't wearing it. Yeah, can you go and put it back on? And I think just, when we were on site doing a whip around as well, first thing, people would look at you and go, better go and put my belt on. So I think all those sorts of little things helped. And then, by the end of that kind of 8 weeks that we were there, people were pretty switched on with what they had to do.
So we talked a bit about the results, Michael, but and that's a big number in savings. Yeah. It's great news, but talk us through a little bit more. So no reportable incidents. What kind of type of injuries would you generally have had reported, and what were people doing? And obviously those were quickly eliminated. So tell us a bit more about that if you could, thanks.
Yeah, so a lot of the injuries that we tend to see, sore backs, sore shoulders, elbow type, sort of repetitive strain type injuries, those sorts of things. With the use of the wearables, it made it very clear, especially with the haptics, that people were bending wrong or they were quickly alerted to that they were moving their bodies wrong. So that quickly eliminated those types of injuries. And because people were more focused on what they were doing, we saw a significant drop in all incidents, really. which was fantastic to see. And given that, we've got people with a second language, English is not their first language, the use of the haptics was key, because you weren't having to speak to people. They were understanding the fact that, okay, it's vibrating, I'm doing something wrong here. So we were able to target that demographic as well. And, the success of that was very clear in the results. I mean, reducing hazardous spend 60%, I mean, that's virtually unheard of from what I've seen. So that was just a fantastic result. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we could get the similar result with the further expansion. And then obviously we're looking to stretch out to farm as well, in key areas out at farm where we have some other manual type work, and even on our harvest operators and things like that, where they're twisting inside the cab and that sort of thing. So we're hoping to try and reduce those types of injuries as well, because within our business, 95% of the injuries that we suffer are these type of musculoskeletal injuries. So if we can get rid of those completely, the business is on a lot better footing.
So I wonder, could you describe to us what a hazardous bend would be for one of your employees?
Yep. So we set, I think it was 60 degrees. I think we initially set it at, wasn't it, Rod?
Yep.
So any bend where they went over 60 degrees, it'd flag, and then we progressively lowered that percentage. So by using that haptics, we're essentially training our employees not to overextend or bend further than what they should be. So over that 8 weeks, we progressively reduced it down, and they just went along with it. That training just sort of became second nature to them, and they just kept adjusting and adjusting and adjusting to suit the haptics, which was fantastic to see.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes so much sense, doesn't it? Because you kind of know yourself. You don't know you're doing something wrong until something tells you, i.e. an injury or luckily here now technology. And you can just adjust that really simply once you know it's wrong, and it's fantastic. So would you say that the pilot met or exceeded expectation?
From my point of view, it exceeded my expectations. I expected to see some improvement, but not to the level that we saw. That was just phenomenal.
And anything you'd have done differently?
I probably would have rolled it out to other areas. I would have included farms on the pilot, and potentially one of our other production sites on the pilot as well. But given the size and spread of our facilities, I think that was probably a good call just to go with our one production facility initially. Yeah.
Because, Rod, I believe we've kind of discussed it before, but it was a pretty inexpensive pilot, that EML funded. It wasn't like huge money. It was an affordable. You probably might happily have paid for it yourselves. It was quite an affordable pilot for EML to fund. And did you keep it that way deliberately, or were you trying to work within a budget that EML were happy to fund?
Yeah, look, we wanted to provide a program that we thought was fair and equitable within the market. So given that we were moving in and it was in those initial stages, we thought that, where it did sit within the price range would meet that. I think we, in the future, would probably increase that and try and spend more time on site than where we were within this initial program. Which is kind of what we're working towards in the next stages with Michael and his team. And within that, then, while it does increase costs, our expectations would be that we keep seeing the same kind of outcomes, but or better. And we're doing it across, instead of doing it across 40 staff, we're doing it across up to closer to 800 this time. So there's a lot more reach and scope within that.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more then about what's next, because we have talked about them briefly, but you've got some really exciting plans now. So let's hear from you, Michael, what you're planning to do with technology, safety technology generally now within your organisation.
Yep. So obviously teaming up again with Prudence and Module. They've got some great technology, particularly around forklifts. Forklift safety is another key one for the business. And so we're looking at, we have purchased some Halo guards for forklifts, as well as beacon technology, which also comes with the speed limiting technology as well. So we can set the beacons up around the site. That covers our ability to then track forklift movements. We can see which routes forklifts it's frequently taking. The speed limiting technology allows us to, as well, once they cross those beacon thresholds, we can set higher speed limits outside the sheds. We can lower the speed limit inside the shed. And with the Halo Guard technology, when an obstacle is detected, we can also slow that forklift immediately down to 1 to 2 k's an hour. So the forklift drivers, we're not relying on them for fast reaction times. We're using the technology to adjust, because obviously, forklifts at times do have difficult blind spots, and we're trying to reduce down those risks for them and avoid any collisions with not only other forks, but, racking, pedestrians, all those sorts of things. So where we can get that technology in to take that risk away, we're jumping at it. So we've gone full hog at the moment with technology in their sheds. So hopefully that'll again flow on, and we'll see another further reduction in these types of incidents across our sites, which would be great.
Yeah, a lot of industries struggling with the forklifts and the plant people interface. So yeah, we'll be closely watching that one as well. And I believe that the module you're going to kind of make that you're going to roll that out to the whole group, make it mandatory. PPE?
Yes, so it will be mandatory. We'll be out across the entire business. So we're going to roll it out in stages, essentially. So we'll start with our production facilities at Anglevale Road and Taylors Road here in Adelaide, and then progressively roll that out to the farms as well. So Hillston, unfortunately, will miss out as we're moving away from that business. We're selling that at the moment. So all those technology that we had allocated for Hillston will then move out to farms. So we should see a lot faster take on out at farms, which would be really good to see.
And, we haven't confirmed it, but we do believe that this is the first mandatory PPE technology wearable for PPE. So you really are the trailblazers in this, and I just wanted to remind you of that and why we're all so interested in this particular case study. Michael, any advice that you would give to any other companies kind of looking at their near misses or their compensations or whatever, thinking I really should do something? Any advice you could give to them?
Yeah, take the risk. Take the risk. Get into the technology. The technology's there. It's available, and it works. Simple as that. Team up with Module Prudence. You've got to have that right team. You've got to have that right implementation. As soon as you've gotten that, the success will come. And I couldn't promote the wearables and all the other technologies that Module have in improving the business and safety in the business, particularly for those businesses that have a very heavy manual element to them. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of businesses out there, even some of them that have now gone to predominantly automation. You're still going to have people on site use that technology. It's particularly if you've got interactions with people and plant, and then even with the musculoskeletal, you're still going to have people lifting, bending, twisting. So use those wearables, get that under control, and monitor it. It can only help the business at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I think, 1.5 million Australian dollars of claim injury savings is a good help towards rolling out that technology and hopefully getting more back.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Anything from yourself, Rod?
No, I don't think I can top that, to be honest. That was glowing. Yeah, no, I appreciate that lovely those lovely words. So no, I can't beat that.
So I think on that note, Michael, we'll wrap up this Insight series. It's been fantastic to meet you, and yourself again, Rod, and really look forward to following this story and see how you get on.
Thank
Thanks very much.
You.